These 5 queens ruled empires and conquered nations. Then history tried to erase them completely. Today on Tyrant Tales, the most powerful women men wanted forgotten forever. Queen 1. Hatshepsut, the pharaoh. They tried to destroy in ancient Egypt. There was one rule that seemed unbreakable. Only men could become pharaoh. But Hatshepsut didn't just break that rule. She shattered it completely. When her husband died, Hatshepsut became regent for her young stepson. But within a few years, she crowned herself pharaoh, wearing the ceremonial beard and headdress reserved only for male kings. This wasn't a quiet power grab. Hatshepsut ruled Egypt for over 20 years, and under her leadership, the kingdom prospered like never before. She organized massive trade expeditions that brought incredible wealth to Egypt. She commissioned architectural projects that still stand today as some of Egypt's greatest monuments. She was one of the most successful pharaohs in Egyptian history, but her successor, Thutmose III, couldn't accept that a woman had ruled so successfully. After Hatshepsut's death, Thutmose ordered a systematic destruction of her legacy. Workers were sent to every temple and monument with one mission: erase her. Her statues were smashed into pieces. Her name was chiseled out from hieroglyphics on temple walls. Her images were defaced or completely removed. Imagine being so successful that even decades after your death, people are still threatened by your memory. That's how powerful Hatshepsut was. But here's where the story gets interesting. The erasure wasn't complete. Workers hid some statues instead of destroying them. Some inscriptions were too high to reach. And centuries later, archaeologists pieced her story back together from these fragments. Hatshepsut's attempted erasure became the very thing that made her immortal, because in trying to delete her, Thutmose III created a mystery that historians couldn't ignore. Queen 2, Wu Zetian, the Empress with the blank tomb. In the entire history of Imperial China, spanning thousands of years, only one woman ever ruled as emperor with full authority. Her name was Wu Zetian. She didn't inherit power through bloodline or marriage convenience. Wu Zetian climbed from being a low-ranking concubine to becoming the sole ruler. China's rise is all about smarts, strategy, and pure grit. As emperor, Wu Zetian expanded China's territory, improved government efficiency, and promoted capable officials based on merit rather than aristocratic connections. She created examination systems that changed how China selected its leaders. But Wu Zetian didn't just break tradition. She crushed anyone who opposed her. Rivals disappeared. Threats were eliminated. She ruled with absolute authority for decades. When she died in 705 AD, something unprecedented happened. Her massive tomb was prepared with great ceremony, but the tombstone erected at the entrance was left completely blank. No name, no title, no accomplishments listed. Just empty stone. Why? Because even in death, male historians and officials couldn't accept what she represented. By leaving her tomb unmarked, they tried to erase her from history as if she had never ruled at all. The irony is profound. That blank tombstone became one of the most famous monuments in China. Tourists visit it specifically because it's blank. The very silence meant to erase her instead made her unforgettable. Wu Zetian's blank tomb stands as the ultimate rebellion against those who tried to silence her. In refusing to name her, they accidentally made her immortal. Queen 3, Zenobia, the queen who challenged Rome. Picture the Roman Empire at its absolute peak. The most powerful military force the world had ever seen. Legions everywhere. Conquest after conquest. Seemingly unstoppable. And then from the Syrian desert city of Palmyra, one woman dared to challenge Rome directly. Her name was Queen Zenobia. Zenobia wasn't just a figurehead. She was a brilliant military strategist and scholar who spoke multiple languages. When her husband was assassinated, she took control of Palmyra and immediately began expanding her territory. She conquered Egypt. She marched her armies through Roman provinces. She declared herself equal to the Roman emperor and minted coins with her own image. For a brief moment, Zenobia controlled a vast empire that rivaled Rome itself. Rome couldn't tolerate this challenge, especially not from a woman. Emperor Aurelian led a massive military campaign against Palmyra. After fierce battles, Zenobia was finally captured in 272 AD. And then something strange happened. Zenobia vanished from history. No one knows what happened to her after her capture. Some Roman sources claim she was paraded through Rome in golden chains and then lived in luxury exile. Other accounts suggest she was executed quietly. Her tomb has never been found. No reliable records document her final days. These stories of powerful women show what textbooks really left out, right? Subscribe to Tyrant Tales and hit that bell icon. We dig up hidden stories the powerful want to keep buried. Your support makes it happen. Queen 4. Empress Theodora. The woman they rewrote. In 6th century Constantinople, a woman named Theodora rose from the absolute lowest ranks. She rose from society to become the Empress of Byzantium, and male historians never let her forget it. Before becoming Empress, Theodora worked as an actress, which in that era carried scandalous implications. But when she married Emperor Justinian, she didn't become a decorative wife. She became his intellectual equal and political partner. Theodora pushed for laws protecting women's rights, including allowing women to own property and seek divorce. She created laws protecting poor people and reformed legal codes that had oppressed the vulnerable for centuries. Her finest moment came during the Nika riots in 532 AD. Rebels had surrounded the palace, and Justinian's generals were advising him to flee the city. The empire was about to collapse. Theodora stood before the council and delivered a speech that changed history. She told Justinian that she would rather die as an empress than live as a refugee. Her courage convinced him to stay and fight. They crushed the rebellion and saved the Byzantine Empire. But centuries later, male historians tried to erase Theodora's achievements. They focused obsessively on her past as an actress, spreading rumors and exaggerations. They reduced her political genius to stories about her sexuality. They wrote her out of her own victories. Theodora's brilliance emerges from beneath centuries of slander. Her laws remained in effect long after her death. Her influence shaped an empire. Even lies and propaganda couldn't completely bury the truth about what she accomplished. Queen 5. Queen Nzinga, the warrior Europe tried to forget. In 17th century Angola, European colonial powers arrived with ships, weapons, and one goal: to enslave the African population and take their land. One woman stood between them and total conquest. Queen Nzinga Mbande of Ndongo didn't just resist colonization, she outsmarted it for 40 years. When Portuguese colonizers invited her to negotiate, they refused to provide her a chair, forcing her to stand while they sat. This was meant to humiliate her and establish dominance. Nzinga responded by ordering one of her servants to get on hands and knees. She sat on the servant's back and conducted negotiations as an equal. That moment defined her reign. Nzinga never accepted European superiority. She played Portuguese against Dutch colonizers. She formed strategic alliances. She personally led armies into battle well into her 60s. For decades, she defended her kingdom's sovereignty against overwhelming military force. She was a master diplomat, warrior, and strategist who refused to be conquered. But after her death, European historians systematically erased her achievements. Colonial records called her savage, barbaric, and irrelevant. They minimized her military genius. They twisted her story to justify colonization. For centuries, Nzinga was nearly forgotten outside of Angola, but in modern times, African historians reclaimed her story. Today, her image appears on Angolan currency. Statues honor her memory. Schools teach about her resistance. Queen Nzinga proves that the pen may write history, but courage eventually rewrites it. 5 queens, 5 legacies deliberately erased by men who feared their power. Hatshepsut had her name chiseled from monuments. Wu Zetian received a blank tombstone. Zenobia vanished from records. Theodora was buried under lies. Nzinga was called savage and forgotten. Truth doesn't fade away. It lingers in broken statues and forgotten ruins, waiting for someone brave enough to notice it again. These women ruled empires, commanded armies, changed laws, and defended their people. They were erased, not for failing, but for succeeding too much, threatening those in power. What surprised you most about these queens? Did you know any of their stories? Discover hidden stories history wants forgotten. Subscribe to Tyrant Tales for the real scoop. Smash that like button to share their story. History is for those who dare to question.